So, if you're anyone who loves to move, whether you're a pro athlete or just love a weekend run, you know that the risk of injury is always there. Today, we're going to break down the science of how you manage that. We'll look at how to prevent injuries, what to do the second they happen, and most importantly, how to get back in the game safely.
Look, we all know that being active is just incredible for us, right? It makes us stronger, pushes our limits, and really builds resilience. But with every push, there is some risk. The goal isn't to get rid of that risk completely. I mean, that's just impossible. The real goal is to understand it and manage it so you can make sure the massive benefits always outweigh the costs.
So, here's how we're going to tackle this. We're going to follow the complete injury timeline. First up, prevention. What you can do before anything even happens. Then, we'll talk about that crucial first response in the moments right after an injury. And finally, we're going to dive deep into the recovery process for something really complex, like a concussion. All right, let's start at the very beginning with section 1, preventing the unpreventable. This is all about the stuff you can do proactively to prep your body and keep yourself healthy and in the game. When you get right down to it, injury prevention really just boils down to a mix of physics and biology. It's a two-part strategy. First, you want to minimize any weird or excessive forces on your body. And second, you want to make your body as good as it can possibly be at absorbing the forces that are just a normal part of your sport. And that brings us to this really key concept, prehabilitation. Now, you've heard of rehabilitation, right? That's what you do after an injury to get better. Well, prehabilitation is what you do before an injury to try and stop it from ever happening. It's a totally proactive approach, using specific exercises to build your body's capacity and tackle risk factors head on. So, what does this actually look like day to day? Well, think of it like a whole toolkit of prevention methods, all backed by science. You've got the stuff you do with your body, like flexibility training, warming up right, and mastering the correct technique. But it's also about the environment you're in, things like using the right protective gear, making sure it actually fits you, and even having rules in the game that are appropriate for your age. But look, no matter how well we prepare, injuries can still happen. It's just a fact of life for active people. So let's move on and see what science says we should do in those critical moments right after an injury strikes. Okay, let's put you in the moment. You're out there playing your sport, you make a quick cut, and bam, you feel that sharp pain. A sprain, a strain, something's wrong. What do? What's the protocol right then and there? So the number one thing you're trying to do right out of the gate is manage your body's inflammatory response. See, when you get hurt, your body floods the area with resources, and that's what causes all that swelling. The goal of that initial treatment is to mitigate or just, dial back that inflammation. Now, this is where it gets really fascinating because our understanding of this has changed so much over the years. A lot of us grew up hearing about RICE, rest, ice, compression, elevation, which goes all the way back to 1978. But the science has moved on. It went from ice to rice to price and now to police. And that last change, it's a really, really big deal. The crucial difference here, the absolute game changer, is swapping out R for rest with OL for optimal loading. The old way of thinking was just to stop moving completely, but the new science shows that introducing safe, gentle, early movement actually helps the tissue repair itself and keeps your nerves firing. It promotes healing way more effectively than just sitting still. It's a total shift in how we think about recovery from day one. So you might be wondering, well, why not just get rid of all the swelling and pain? It's a good question, but it really is a balancing act. You see, inflammation is actually part of the healing process. It protects the area and cleans up the mess. And pain? Pain is your body's essential alarm system, basically screaming at you to stop before you do more damage. So the goal isn't to silence these signals, but to manage them so your body can heal in the best way possible. Now, the POLIC protocol is fantastic for things like sprains and strains, but some injuries, they need a much more specific, careful approach. So for our last section, let's look at one of the most complex injuries out there, concussions. When it comes to a suspected concussion, the first response is absolutely non-negotiable. It's summed up perfectly by this one critical rule. If in doubt, sit them out. An athlete with a suspected concussion can't go back to play that day. End of story. They need to be removed from the game immediately and seen by a medical professional. So, once a concussion is actually diagnosed, the recovery process starts. And it is so important to understand that this journey is rarely a straight line. An athlete might feel great one day, then hit a plateau, or even have some symptoms come back.
That up and down pace is totally normal, and it requires a ton of patience from everyone involved.
To manage this tricky recovery, experts have developed a very clear, staged strategy. You can think of it like a 6-step ladder back to playing. And the rule is you can only move to the next step once you can do the current one without any symptoms. It starts super simple with just regular daily activities, and then slowly adds in light exercise, then sports-specific movements, and on until you're finally cleared for a normal game. Each step carefully ramps up what's being asked of your body and your brain.
So what's the big picture here? Well, whether we're talking about prepping your body before you play, managing an injury in those first few minutes, or navigating a really complex recovery, a systematic, scientific approach is hands down your best defense. It's all about being proactive, being patient, and letting the evidence guide you.
We've seen that the physical side of getting over an injury is a pretty clear step-by-step science, but that leaves us with one final, huge question to think about. After all the tissues have healed and all the protocols are finished, how much of the comeback is actually mental? Thanks for watching.